So generally, when you drill a well, the best production rates are generally at IP, like initial production, and that's usually depending on the well, whether it's a shale well or a more conventional well. That initial production, that kind of what we call flush production, on virgin wells can, it may last, 2 weeks, it may last 3 months,
All right, welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. Joining me now is Mark Vanry, the CEO of Wedgemount Resources. And Mark, it's great to see you again. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, Steve. Glad to be on again to give people a quick update this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that you had restarted your operations after some weather challenges about a week and a half ago or so, and now you sort of got into a point where you want to update everyone what's going on there. So let's talk about where you're at. Tell me, you're pretty happy with what you're seeing so far after the resumption?
Yeah, absolutely. Some people don't think about Central Texas as having a very wintry weather, but we had three brief shutdowns during January and February, and we had temperatures down to minus 22 centigrade with wind chills in Central Texas. So obviously down in that part of the world, facilities are not spec'd for those type of temperatures. So it doesn't matter if you're in Oklahoma, Louisiana, Central or South Texas, Tennessee, you have to shut down during that time. But anyways, we've been back up and running now for a couple of weeks, and just really wanted to give an idea of some of the low-hanging fruit that we have on the new Huggy acquisition, particularly in the Echo and Novice areas on that. So where we're at right now is doing surface facility and well work on as per the press release. But some of the wells that we're working on have the potential to be pretty prolific and bigger than our initial three acquisitions. If you see in the press release there, we talked about some of the initial IP rates, kind of ranging from anywhere from 15 to 65 BOEs per day. Again, those are about 80% light oil. Those are pretty punchy numbers. Most of our other wells in the previous areas would be anywhere from sort of 5 to 20. But we are optimistic with the work we're going to do over the next few months that a lot of these wells can not only get back to IP rates, but also exceed IP rates as we've seen on some of our other leases to date. So those are pretty big numbers when you pay for an entire acquisition for less than $1 million, and you could have one well doing 30, 40, 50 barrels a day, which would pretty much pay for your entire acquisition.
And let me ask you this question, Mark, because you're reactivating these five wells, there's already work that's been done there as well. So can you mention that you put in a range of 50 to 65, but are there certain wells that you would look at in that five that potentially could be more than what you've seen in the past?
Yeah, absolutely. So generally, when you drill a well, the best production rates are generally at IP, like initial production, and that's usually
Yeah.
depending on the well, whether it's a shale well or a more conventional well. That initial production, that kind of what we call flush production, on virgin wells can, it may last, 2 weeks, it may last 3 months, but generally all oil wells drilled in the world generally decline in production over a period of time. But because of our specialty chemical treatments, and again, that's the whole key to our story, because of specialty
Yeah.
chemical, we're able to get rates either close to or above the initial production rates for a prolonged period of time. For example, our Davis lease on our first acquisition that we did all the way back in April of 2023, those wells came on at 7 barrels a day, and they're doing over 20 barrels a day currently. And that's 18 months later, so significantly above IP. And I'm not saying all these wells are going to do that. Every well is different. Every well reacts differently. But that's why we're really optimistic on what we've seen to date and what we will be able to do to these much more prolific wells.
And Mark, really just touching the surface literally and going under the surface, so to speak,
Yeah.
because in the news release you talk about you still over 100 additional wells to look at and use that chemical treatment that you talked about. So there's so much potential here. I guess that's why you did it in the first place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, our whole strategy is to acquire distressed properties, whether they be operationally distressed or financially distressed. This one was a combination of both, and none of this type of work has ever been done on any of these wells. So there's so much low-hanging fruit across the new asset base. We bought 111 producers on the Huggy acquisition in total. And again, we have not done our larger chemical treatments on any of them so far. So there's so much low hanging fruit, which is again, as you just said, why we did the deal and why we're so excited about the area.
Well, we look forward to providing more updates when it's available. Good to have you back again in the future, Mark. Thanks so much for the update today, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks a lot, Steve. Have a great day. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, you as well. Mark Vanry, the CEO of Wedgemount Resources.